Hi. How can I not be frustrated? It's crashing during the day now. I really don't like the situation when the internet crashes. I don't know how to, I can't restart the stream on the same link. That is a huge plus on the Twitch side. Is the chat's not even refreshing on this screen? What is happening, yo? Oh. Will that work? There we go. Luckily, I got everything in on Heir of the Empire that I wanted to talk about. So that's good. Don't forget to join the channel too, guys. If you're... And hit that like button. I just don't understand. Like, I'm hardwired into the internet. It should not be happening. Do I keep going? Or do we call it a day? I need to build a big... I need to send out a big email. Because I don't know if there is a way. I don't know if there's like a better workaround than literally having to create an entirely new stream. I mean, I didn't have anything. This was my plan for Wednesday morning, afternoon. I'll edit later. I have to edit later. I mean, I could go through my what if scenario for Force Awakens. I have it scripted out. I think it'd be kind of fun to read through that live. What's Starlink? What's that? I just need to bring the assholes from Spectrum out here to fix this damn thing. It was a good stream. Thanks, Alex. This is actually longer than I thought. I'll save this for... I need to record that. Maybe I can record that video today. Later. But I did have thoughts of playing Lego Star Wars. Oh, that's the name of the Elon Musk internet? Oh, excuse me. Was Kylo made for the only for the movies? Was there a book series where he is the son as well? I don't know the official answer to that. I think he was made for the sequels. I think he was a Disney created character for the movies. I love Kylo. I think Kylo is by far the best story. Maybe I should change the title of the stream. Can I do that live? Okay. I could change the title live. It didn't break anything. Right? We're still here. The moment that little box goes red, it's turning into a bad situation. So who's still here? What do we got? Tricky, Nerd, Alex, Leilana, Paul. Is that it? What's up, Jordan? Hi from the UK. Loved your Batman reaction. Your favorite Batman is Michael Keaton's Batman. He was a good Batman. We don't watch or react to any trailers, so no. Going in completely blind. No book reading either. We haven't read any of the books either. I mean, you guys can talk about whatever you want. But, I mean, the title of the stream is Star Wars. It's fine. But yeah, no trailer. I posted something on the community tab on the reaction channel about trailers and why. If you're curious, you can go check that out. But yeah, trailers are completely off limits. Unless it's Star Wars related, of course. I'm watching. Like, when it comes to Star Wars and Marvel, I read and look into, like, theories and a lot more than any other show or stuff that we watch. Star Wars, I refuse to avoid the chatter on Star Wars. I refuse. Do you know of the Dark Dimension Vader? I don't. Is that a comic book thing or is that a novel thing? When it comes to, like, content outside of the shows or movies, I don't have a lot. Star Wars sucks. Solid. When do you foresee the next trailer to come out? Do you think we'll take more than I hope it doesn't take more than a decade. I mean, they seem so focused on the shows right now. Because obviously Obi-Wan, they've got Ahsoka that I saw just started production. They've got Andor. They've got what's that other one that they have coming? They got a ton of shows. Haven't seen anything official with Star Wars movies lately. I mean, Celebration's coming up, so I'm sure we'll get tons of information about future content. I would love to do some I don't know exactly what the schedule is. I gotta look at the schedule. I would love to do some co-streams of Celebration, since obviously I'm not going, even though it's 30 minutes from here. That would be fun. I heard Feige's doing did I hear that correctly? Feige's doing a Star Wars movie? Uh-oh. Jordan, this might be an unpopular opinion. Let's hear it. It's a comic book thing. It's kind of like the Force Vision, but kind of not. It's just a dark dimension. He grows his limbs, kills the entire Jedi Council with ease, and kills Palp with ease. That sounds fucking dark and awesome. Oh, you retracted your message. Do you think Obi-Wan will be the best Star Wars Disney Plus show by the looks of the trailer? It has the potential for that, absolutely. I mean, The Mandalorian has been so good. I have really, really, really loved The Mandalorian. So, I did not like Boba Fett at all. But my problem with Obi-Wan is that I'm going in with extreme expectations because it's my favorite time period. Well, one of my favorite time periods. The Obi-Wan Anakin storyline is one of my favorites by far. And the fact that we're potentially getting content that's bridging that gap into A New Hope. I mean, it's the Obi-Wan content is the number one thing that I have wanted since Disney has purchased Star Wars, and we knew we were getting all these stories. I didn't need or want a solo story. I didn't need Rogue One as much as I love it. The thing I needed, and the thing I need, is the Obi-Wan story. Coming out of Revenge of the Sith, there was always so much potential, and I've always been wanting more of that continuation. What's up, Aha? You actually liked the Boba Fett show? But I didn't have any expectations. It was very entertaining. Boba Fett sucks rant. Yeah, I thought it was a pointless show. I thought the action sequences were weak, especially compared to Mandalorian. I thought Boba's character development was weak. And then the fact that the show ends with Boba being like, oh, maybe we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. Like, what? What are you talking about? How could you go through all of that and then say that at the end? Like, I thought there were a lot of really cool visuals that ended up being super stupid. Like, Boba riding in a bantha. Not bantha, in the, riding in on the, fuck, brain farts. My brain doesn't work right. Ugh. The fuck is the name? The Rancor, thank you, Jesus. Boba Fett riding in on the Rancor visually was so dope. But when you actually break that scene down, it was the dumbest thing to do. He went all the way back to Jabba's palace to get the Rancor, which is where his ship was parked. Why would you not get in your ship that is built for war, bring that out, and obliterate your enemies? Hello? But instead you're going to get on the back of a Rancor, be completely exposed all around you in the middle of a, like, that just, it looked super cool, but when you actually break it down and look at it, it was very silly. Very silly. And obviously the biker gang completely didn't fit on Tatooine, in my opinion. Maul being in Kenobi would ruin Maul dying and meeting Kenobi and Rebels. 100%. That 1,000,000% should not happen in this show. We should not see Maul in the Obi-Wan show. Cad Bane is probably not dead. Kenobi would destroy Maul at that time too. It wouldn't really be much of a fight for Kenobi to beat Maul. Maul is kind of weak. I'll give my reasons if you ask. Maul is overrated in powers. But he's ... Maul's one of the best characters in Star Wars, in my opinion. I love him so much. I think he's great. But yeah. Ship is literally called a fire spray and he didn't use it in combat. Exactly. We saw him use it early in the episode, or earlier in the show, when he killed the biker gang. Why wouldn't you use that in an actual war? Hello? It's just, I thought it was poor, and I hate to say this because I know who wrote it. I thought it was poor writing. I thought it was poor character development. Way too many flashbacks. And I just overall, I was left super flat. How's your hype for Stranger Things? It's low right now. I'm not very hyped for Stranger Things. I'm still mad at Stranger Things. Bummed that we don't get to see your Hawkeye reactions. Yeah, it happens. We can't react to every single Disney Plus show. So there's going to be some that don't make it into the reaction channel, but still watching. I don't like Hawkeye to this point anyways, so people will just be upset with our reactions anyways, I'm sure. I was currently just talking about Book of Boba Fett, yeah. Are you hyped for the Kenobis? I am so hyped and so nervous for the Kenobi show. Season 2? There's not going to be a season 2 of Book of Boba Fett. Just use Boba Fett and other pieces of content. We don't need more of him. We don't need that show. I did see the second Obi-Wan trailer, yes. I watch Star Wars trailers, yes. I watch Star Wars and Marvel trailers. Dooku's a really underrated character. I think they should have made a show about him. The person who deserves a show the most is easily Yoda. I want to learn more about Yoda in his early years. I don't want to learn about Yoda in his early years. I like the mystery behind him. I've been very much on record saying there are certain things I don't need explained. Yoda and his upbringing is one of them. How Han Solo got his name is one of them. Midichlorians was something I never needed explanation on. I don't need to go back and see anything about Yoda, but Dooku didn't really get enough in the prequels. I feel like he definitely deserved more. I think he's a super intriguing character. I know there's a lot of content around Dooku out there. I love his hilt more than anything. His saber is one of my favorites. Of course I've heard Ahsoka's getting a show, yeah, for sure. I stay up on the news with Star Wars, very much. I don't avoid any Star Wars news or speculations or what people are talking about. I don't avoid any of that. I love it too much. I'm not gonna sacrifice my enjoyment for that kind of thing. Rise of Skywalker was the worst Star Wars movie. You must love Last Jedi then. Dooku Qui-Gon show? Yeah, sure. Sometimes less is more, absolutely. We might just learn about Yoda's species when younger via Grogu and Man. Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to know about that. Have you read The Expanse? No. Pretty much every answer to have you read blank 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 will be no. I haven't read really anything. Hope is they incorporate more Heir to the Empire trilogy in the yes. I know obviously the time period is going to not match, right? See, I'm starting like one of my things that my brain has trouble with is the timeline shit. When I think there is a graph that shows the Ahsoka show. Where is the Ahsoka show? Ahsoka. Yeah, Ahsoka is around The Force Awakens. So yeah, obviously timelines aren't going to match. But there's still ways to incorporate a lot from the Thrawn books. I mean, the biggest thing is going to be like, where the fuck have you been? Especially if he's showing up around the time period of The Force Awakens. Well, Heir to the Empire is directly after Empire Strikes, or Return of the Jedi. Actually, I mean, The Force Awakens is 30 years post Return of the Jedi. So it's close. But the reason why the Thrawn novel works is that he was out on the outskirts doing jobs, and he immediately is picking up... Oh, wait. There's an arrow pointing over here. I don't think they're pulling... It's during the Mandalorian time period, which I think was like 5 to 10 years after the fall of the second Death Star. So there's too many things lined up. Let me show you I'll just show you what I'm looking at. So, Ahsoka's here, but the line is dragging over here. Like, I was putting it here because that's where it was, but it's actually over here. So it actually, that timeline does line up actually pretty close to Heir to the Empire, which could be interesting. It sounds goofy how fast you type stuff on your keyboard. Do I type that fast? I feel like I'm a slow typer. There's a comic book about Grievous's backstory if you want to know about it. Grievous isn't... He's not that interesting to me. Timothy Zahn updated his Thrawn backstory and wrote more books. Oh, he did? Oh. There was speculation when the Ahsoka show was announced that General Thrawn character might appear. He's definitely in it. 100%. He's going to be in the... Grand Admiral Thrawn is 100% going to be in the Ahsoka show. I don't know if it's like confirmed, but 1,000,000% he's going to be in it. In your opinion, you think Empire Strikes Back is the best movie? I agree. I think it's the best as well. Is there a character you don't want to see a show of? Yeah, I don't know. I don't really think like that. You don't want Thrawn to be in Ahsoka because if he is, then he's most likely going to die to her, which I don't want to happen. It's not necessarily true. But on the flip side, I think major character deaths are important for storytelling. If it's done right, I love major character deaths. The funny thing is I still have to look down and type sometimes. Like when I play like Tarkov or something, for example, I still have to look for certain keys, which is why I suck at the game. So I'm probably going to be live for like another, what time is it? 40 minutes? Once my kids get home, I'm going to take off. How far into Dark Force Rising are you? 1 chapter. Opinions on Book of Boba Fett? I kind of just shared it. I didn't like the show at all. Well then, Paul, you should be happy because Cad Bane's not dead. Uh-oh, what happened? Mod Squad always on point. Did I, in a good way, miss something? By the way, how cool is this shirt? It's like my favorite shirt. I love it so much. Well, Nikki's the more responsible parent. She's out picking them up right now, but once they get home, I'm going to jump off. I think I'm the only person that doesn't think Empire is the best. No, you're definitely not. But the interesting thing about best is sometimes I don't think debating best is a thing that could be debated. I personally don't think there's a debate from top to bottom. There's a better Star Wars movie than Empire Strikes Back. Favorite, completely different. And I love having, there was somebody on TikTok, yes, we have a TikTok, where I specifically said Return of the Jedi is my favorite, but Empire is the best. It's two very different things. Breaking Bad's the best show in my opinion, but Game of Thrones is my favorite. Two very different things. I don't think there's a valid argument out there to support the idea that any Star Wars movie is better than Empire Strikes Back. Fallen Order 2 is going to be announced during Celebration. Yes, can't wait. Disappointed with Cad Bane, made the look weak. Yeah, that's tough. We don't know if Cad Bane lived, but there was speculation that his heart monitor was still beeping after the fact. And if you go back and I got to go back and listen, and through editing, I could look at things closely. I think he's probably still alive. Do you think a show about Starkiller, Vader's secret apprentice from the games would be worth? It's tough because it all depends on where you put Starkiller. I know, Sam Witwer wants to do something with that character, but again, it's one of those scenarios where you can't fuck with the canon so much, and then suddenly like, oh, where was Starkiller during this time? So like, it would have to be during a time period where he wouldn't fit, and then it would have to happen in a scenario where he dies and we don't see him again. So it's, I don't know, inserting a character like that is always tough because but I think they could, again, it all depends on who's handling the character too. I don't know if I want Disney doing a Starkiller show, if you know what I mean. Empire is just a great movie overall. Totally. I think it's easily the best top to bottom. There's no holes. Everything fits. The story and the dialogue is great. The visuals look great. Everything about it is pretty flawless in my opinion in terms of Star Wars content. I feel like every other movie has a flaw somewhere. Oh, what the hell? Again, I think it's hard. I think like experts in film can debate the quality of something. Personally, I went to film school, which is why I like talking about this shit so much. I mean, I'm no expert by any means, but I feel like experts in the field can debate quality, which is what I think best, worst is. But like, I think it's hard for fans who have a level of emotion and unwilling to kind of see the bigger picture, because like I'm very much subject of this, but it's one of those things where it's hard to debate good versus bad. Like, there are people who love The Last Jedi more than Empire Strikes Back, but there's no way I feel like there's a valid argument to debate that The Last Jedi is a better movie than Empire Strikes Back. There's just too many flaws in the story. There's too many flaws in the writing and the visuals, which visually was an amazing movie. But there's stuff in that movie that just doesn't make sense as a whole. Regardless if you like it or not. Like some stuff just doesn't make sense. You think Revenge of the Sith is the best Star Wars movie? I mean, it could be your favorite. There's, again, Revenge of the Sith I have 4th on my list. I think it's an amazing movie. But again, there's too many technical flaws to all 3 of the prequels for them to be considered best. That's why I like to separate favorite and best as much as possible. I mean, the dialogue alone in the prequels kind of removes its qualifications from being considered best Star Wars movie. Rise of Skywalker was good. I'd call that the most emotional. I mean, Rise of Skywalker, I think it's the second. I put it number 2 in terms of the sequel trilogy. But that movie has so many problems. Because JJ's trying to one-up Ryan. And, like, Ryan did a whole bunch of stuff that changed his story from The Force Awakens. And then all JJ's trying to do was fix what Ryan did. And in kind of a result turned into a really sloppy movie. The sequels are just trash, in my opinion. I mean, the story that's told in the prequels is great. The visuals are bad. The dialogue is bad. There's a lot bad in the prequels, absolutely. But when you strip them down, and really when you strip down any movie, it's all about the story. I think it all comes down to storytelling, and I think the sequels were great the prequels were great storytelling. The sequels ruin Anakin and Luke. They ruin the story of Star Wars. I mean, I can't argue that. I would admit I nearly gave up on the Book of Boba Fett. A lot of people did. You definitely aren't alone in that situation. That Palpatine lightsaber fighting in Revenge of the Sith, oof. It was fine. I don't like sand. Like, that line and the way it was, like, written, horrible. But in context, that's actually a really powerful moment and a really powerful line. If you think about Anakin's life, the sand is representation of his slavery and him and his mom being slaves and living on a desert planet full of sand. Like, it makes sense that he would hate it. His childhood sucked. But it was just the dialogue, the actual way that line was written was not good. No Love for New Hope. It's my 3rd favorite Star Wars movie ever. I love A New Hope. I think New Hope is awesome. Flying Leia was terrible. Yeah, it was. Didn't make sense. It was another thing that Ryan invented. I'm like, oh, humans could fly in space with no protective gear at all and survive. She should have died. The whole love story between Kylo and Rey thought was horrible. And I thought it made sense. I don't know if I loved that story, but I think that's one of the few things that I thought actually did make sense. I don't think the way it was treated or handled or written or approached on screen worked. But, like, the idea of them falling in love made sense to me. Flying Leia sounds like an Olympic diving move. That's funny. I mean, if you are being connected through the Force, regardless of what your opinion is of that, and Snoke being able to do that, and having this mind control over them, but then being killed by... Like, don't even get me started on Snoke's death. But if two people are being connected through the Force and are an actual, like, essence of the Force together, and they're the two that are setting them, like, the setting the balance and like having this connection, I think it would make sense you'd have a special connection with that person. I mean, the whole scenario is silly, but never got to know how Maz Kanata found Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. I'm sure it's written in a book somewhere. In some hidden piece of content that Disney wants you to go buy and read. But, I mean, the more I watch The Force Awakens, the more I realize how much is just like, that doesn't make sense. Do you guys hear that outside? Is that loud? There's gardeners outside. Did Ben and Anakin have that connection? I don't think so. I mean, I did a little video about it should have been Anakin at the end of The Rise of Skywalker and not Han appearing to Kylo. There's this whole idea that Kylo had no relationship with Anakin and that Anakin would have never appeared to him. But it's like, you already like changed and invented so much within the Star Wars universe. Why not make that happen? Why not be like, hey, you've been worshiping the wrong person, and have Anakin come to Kylo? I mean, they're connected through blood essentially, because Anakin's daughter is Kylo's or Ben's mom. I would have had zero problems with that if Anakin appeared to, like, if Anakin was the core reason why Ben Solo was redeemed. You hear the leaf blower? Great. I feel like that would have made so much more sense to the story versus having essentially a delusion of Ben Solo seeing Han. Because he wasn't a Force ghost, obviously. Like, he was there in regular form. Ben was just having a vision, a flashback, a memory. Did you know in the OG canon, Plagueis created Anakin via Force? He uses the Force to create Anakin in his mom's womb, and then we got Snoke, who couldn't stop the dumbest death I've ever seen. Also, they made Rey the Chosen One. They're saying the prophecy of the Dyad is older than the Chosen One prophecy, which makes Rey the Chosen One. The Force Dyad is more powerful too. I don't think there's, like, the prophecy that Anakin was going to destroy the Sith is still intact for me. We didn't get the real Emperor in the sequels. And I don't think the prophecy ever said forever. You're going to end this forever. Like, shit comes back, shit returns, and history repeats itself. The Emperor returning did not bother me as much as it bothers other people. Like, I don't think it makes sense. And that he'd magically have, like, this grand fleet where every ship could destroy a planet. Like, okay, Exegol, sure thing. Snoke was, I mean, Snoke technically failed, but yes, he was a created clone. He wasn't an Emperor clone. He was created by the Emperor, from my understanding. Forever. I wanted more Snoke. Again, I thought it was a huge missed opportunity that Ryan decided to just take out what felt like the main antagonist in the middle film, which ultimately left the last movie with who as the big bad. It was just... I like to say that Rian Johnson created a standalone movie within a trilogy. I mean, we don't know shit about Snoke, really. I mean, do we need to learn any? Like, what do we, like... Snoke became an irrelevant character. But it's like Rian Johnson was like, oh, this sounds cool. Let's put this in the movie. Oh, that's cool. Let's have that happen. Oh, that's really cool. Let's insert this. It's like, hey, buddy, one, you're in a universe that has existed for like 40 years and takes canon very seriously. And by the way, you're the second movie of a trilogy. Like, hello. I feel like The Last Jedi just created so many issues for the trilogy. And, you know, Kathleen Kennedy allowed him to do it. I don't blame Ryan. I blame Kathleen Kennedy. Looking forward to House of Dragons. I'm keeping my expectations low. But yes, I'm looking forward to it, yeah. I have already dove into the next book. I'm only like one chapter in though. What is it called? Dark Force Rising. Yeah, I'm a chapter into Dark Force Rising. It's okay to have 3 different directors. The original trilogy had 3 different directors. The problem is that the 3 directors were given creative control of their movie versus, like, this is what the whole trilogy is going to be. You have to hit these bullet points in all your movies. The story in the original trilogy was all George. He had all the creative control, but he had other directors directing those movies, which is why all 3 movies feel different. But they feel different, but the story flows. There's a cohesive story. It's like if the directors in the original trilogy had full creative control, in Empire Strikes Back, we have the moment where it's like, Vader, Luke, I'm your father. And then in the Return of the Jedi, Yoda telling Luke, nah, he was just joking. Like, he was lying. That dude's not really your dad. That was just a bad joke. He was just trying to sway you to the dark side. He ain't really your father. And then be like, wait, what? Just bring George Lucas back? Yeah, I mean... I saw some content based off of what his sequel trilogy was going to look like. I don't know. If George didn't direct the prequels, they would have been better. 100%. 100%. He's not a director. He's a creator. He's a storyteller. He's the vision. What do you rank Mandalorian series? like in terms of like the whole, like ranking them within the movies, I'd probably put it fifth. Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope, Revenge of the Sith, Mandalorian, Rogue One. I could maybe even put The Mandalorian third. I could probably get it as high as 3, as low as 6. Season 2 is better than season 1. Yeah, I mean, it has one of my single favorite episodes of TV of all time in season 2. I mean, Disney's already shat on George Lucas's creation enough to this point. I don't know why he would want to come back. I don't care who really directs the movies or makes the story and stuff as long as it's good Star Wars. Yeah. And unfortunately, we've gotten some pretty bad Star Wars stories. Hate to hear where you'd rank Boba Fett. I'd put Boba Fett somewhere around the Solo Last Jedi area. Somewhere in the bottom third of my rankings. I like the thing, and again, this is old fart Star Wars fan me talking. I just want the directors and the creators to respect the product that came before you. That's what I want. It's like respect, like the sequel trilogy shits all over the legacy characters. Solo shits all over the legacy characters. I feel like Rogue One is the only one that doesn't shit all over the legacy characters because we had arguably the greatest Darth Vader scene in live action. Well, I think didn't George direct A New Hope? Yeah, he directed A New Hope and then favorite Star Wars color or lightsaber color, green. I think I'll probably pick blue. But we did get Hayden and Ewan from the prequels. I mean, we got a lot of great things from the prequels. I love the prequels. I just think their dialogue and visuals are a complete mess. The thing that I take very personally is the treatment of the legacy characters. And maybe I shouldn't care as much as I do, but I do care. I care very much because it's my childhood. But, and this is like the main core reason, and like the video that I did, I think my biggest problem with the way Luke was handled in The Last Jedi, it has nothing to do with the idea of him actually making that shift. It's the way the story was told that I have a problem. Like, I love storytelling. You can't take Luke Skywalker, provided with everything that we have seen up to that point, and have him do what he did in that movie without proper story to back it up. And when I say proper story to back it up, I mean showing us what actually happened to him. Don't just show me these weak flashbacks. Be like, oh, his Jedi Academy was destroyed. That doesn't do it. That's not enough. You need to give the audience time with his students. You need to give the audience moments with him teaching his students and showing the connection that he has with his students and the relationship that he has with Ben. You need to show these things. And really, and that's why, like, Anakin's turn in the prequels work so well. We see the pain in Padme. We see the pain in Obi-Wan. We see the pain in Anakin. You see him and the impact of his actions. You see him going to the temple. You see him confronting the younglings. We know he kills the younglings. We don't necessarily see him strike them down, but we see a hologram of him killing Jedi. We know he destroyed them. We know that he killed everyone. Order 66 is so emotional. Luke in The Last Jedi is just this hermit just because he saw some vision of Ben being scary. There is no evidence in any of the sequel trilogy to show us that Ben Solo is anywhere near scarier than Darth Vader or the Emperor. Talking about a dude who stood toe-to-toe with the Emperor got force lightninged. The dude who stood toe-to-toe to Darth Vader and turned him back to the light. You need to visibly show us what Luke went through. That's my problem with Luke doing what he did. It's not the core of why he did it. Luke turning what he becomes, sure. And we're probably going to see a depressed, broken down Obi-Wan Kenobi in his show. But you know what? There's visual storytelling to support why he is in that state of mind. And I believe that I'm willing to bet that he's still going to have hope. He might not be connected to the Force the way that he wants to be because there are people looking for him and Luke is the prize that needs to be protected. But he's not being disconnected from the Force because he's sad or depressed. There's just no visual storytelling to support Luke doing what he did. That's why I don't support it. Are we going to get it one day? It might be too late. It might be too late where we meet his students. It's probably going to be too late that we get to feel an emotional connection to his academy. It's probably too late. And you guys in the chat, I'm not a Star Wars encyclopedia. I'm not an expert. But the part of the story that makes no sense to me, and I think I've talked about this before, if Luke was in that state of mind and did experience the most dramatic and depressing moment of his life, and his goal was to disappear and hide and completely disconnect from the Force, why would he go searching for the first Jedi Temple? Every piece of content I've ever seen, whether it's in Clone Wars or Rebels or Mandalorian or whatever, anyone who's seeking a Jedi or Sith temple is seeking answers. They don't go there to disconnect. Why would he go there to disconnect? That's the part of the story that does not make any sense to me. And if there's an explanation somewhere, buried in a comic book or a novel. I would love to know if there's an example where a Force user has gone to the most sacred Force place possible to disconnect from the Force. It doesn't make sense to me. That part of the story is a giant hole. And just, from my perspective, just shows me that Rian Johnson doesn't understand. I'm pretty fired up, aren't I? I'm sorry. There just isn't enough storytelling told for me to ever be down with the idea that like the most optimistic dude in the galaxy would ever run and retreat. That's just my thought. Some people aren't as there aren't like people who love that, like who think that story is like fleshed out enough. I guess they just don't have the same level of expectations. I mean, again, and I go back to something as little as Broom Boy at the end. Something as small as him force pulling a broom an inch to his hand goes to show that Rian Johnson doesn't understand the Force. Anakin Skywalker is arguably the most powerful Force user in the history of the universe of Star Wars. And we never saw him use the Force to move an object as a child. He might have used the Force for his pod racing, but that's not him using that's the Force guiding him. That's the Force using Anakin as a kid. You're gonna tell me that this child, who probably doesn't even know what the Force is, based off of what we were shown, has the ability to force pull something to himself? Like, no, that doesn't. I'm currently reading the Thrawn trilogy. I'm chapter 1, book 2. This stream was meant to be a review for the first book, Out of the Empire, but the stream crashed, so we're just talking Star Wars. It's just simple, small stuff like that, and people's response to that was like, "Oh, it just shows that everyone could be a Force user." Well, it's like, we've already known that. Do you see how many kids were at the Jedi Temple in the prequels? The idea... Oh, my kids are home. The idea that everyone can learn to use the Force is not new. But the idea that somebody could force pull an object to them as a child with no training, no knowledge, no anything that's just misuse. All style, no sub. I mean, basically, the Holdo maneuver was visibly unbelievable. That looked incredible. It sounded super dope, but in the grand scheme of Star Wars made no sense. It made zero sense that suddenly, after all these years, somebody came up with an idea like, oh, I'm just going to fly a ship, light speed, destroy the threat. All those people couldn't come up with the idea to stick a droid in a ship and fly it through the Death Star? Hello? I have not played Knights of the Old Republic. I'm going to play the remake when it comes out. Except Luke only had 5 minutes of training before force pulling. I have said that many times. People want to murder Rey and her character, and I think a lot of the criticism towards Rey is very valid. But we can't act like Luke learned all this stuff and had this extensive training and became this grand Jedi at the beginning of Return of the Jedi. He's in the snow cave and he force pulls his lightsaber to him. He wasn't taught that. I heavily have criticized that before. I've made those comments before. Him running around on Dagobah and doing some flips and having some knowledge training about the Force with Yoda. Could have unlocked some things, which would explain his ability to do that. He might not know how to do it, but the training that he did receive, the little bit with Obi-Wan and then the little bit with Yoda, it could have unlocked a little something for him to be able to do that. That child at the end of The Last Jedi had none of that. Rey had none of that while she didn't even have the stuff that Luke got in A New Hope prior to her being able to mind control people. So it's different. And it's warranted. But I always kind of bring up hey, Luke did all this stuff too with just that much training. I like to play devil's advocate on that. Luke's my favorite character of all time in anything. So, but that said, the kids are home. It was a fun stream. I thought I'd get some games in, but the breakup of the internet kind of screwed that up. I agree that the holdover maneuver is questionable, but so are things like Force Ghosts not spying on the Empire and not applying size matters not, like Star Killer did that to Star Destroyer more often. I mean, you could question the Force Ghosts too, how they evolved in their powers. I mean, where does the Chaos meme come from? You talking about the ladder? It's a Game of Thrones thing. But you go from the original trilogy to Obi-Wan walking through the forest, kind of moving some of the leaves hanging down, to sitting on a log, to Yoda pulling lightning out of the sky and destroying a tree as a Force Ghost. So it's what? It gets pretty crazy. I think there's a lot of things that could be questioned, but when in doubt, the answer is always, it's the Force. So, alright guys. Had a fun stream. Not sure when we'll be back. Movie night is locked in for Sunday. I don't know if we're going to have time to do one in between there. It is Nikki and I's anniversary on... What actual day is the anniversary? It's a Monday. We're celebrating our anniversary on Saturday. So, no movie night Saturday night, but we'll see you guys Sunday night for the Prestige. And we'll see, I know everything that Rian Johnson's directed. I don't think he's a bad director. I think he's a terrible Star Wars director. He should not be writing Star Wars. I love Knives Out, too. I thought Knives Out was fantastic. And again, I don't blame Rian Johnson for this. I think he has a shit opinion on what Star Wars is, but it's not his fault. He was just poorly guided by his bosses. We all have bosses. The bosses are the ones who ultimately take the blame for things, and Kathleen Kennedy gets all my blame for the sequel trilogy. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it. But yeah, we'll see you guys later. Anything else I need to update you guys on? What do you hold on. What do you disagree with? I'm curious. What do you disagree about? I'll leave in a second. Kids have homework. Still haven't seen Looper. I think Looper's on our list. I want to know where the disagreement lies. I'm curious. I'm so curious. I'm curious. That Rian Johnson is a bad Star Wars director? Oh, well, I mean... Again, proof is in the pudding. He created a standalone trilogy in... He created a standalone movie in a trilogy and invented things. 30 years. It's divisive for a reason. Like, that's the thing. Like, there's division among the fan base because he created things that don't exist. Watch more animated stuff? What, like, I've watched most Clone Wars and all of Rebels? Is there more? But, like, that's the thing. Like, I don't think Rian Johnson made a bad movie. I think he made a bad Star Wars movie. And took everything from The Force Awakens. For example, what he did to Finn is... his character destruction of Finn is criminal. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. You could say that it's more faithful as a sequel than The Rise of Skywalker, but The Rise of Skywalker only exists the way it does because of what happened in The Last Jedi. But, like, the Holdo maneuver, Leia flying through space, Broom Kid, him killing Akbar off camera, the turning Hux into a joke, killing Snoke the way he did, the main antagonist. It's just he threw a giant wrench into a trilogy. And I think Rian Johnson's super talented as a creator. But he completely derailed Finn. Like, I think that's the biggest missed opportunity in the whole sequel trilogy. It's like former Stormtrooper turned Jedi, which is exactly where JJ was going with that story, 1,000,000%. And then they sent him on this unimportant mission that ended up doing nothing. I know there's a lot to talk about. That's why I have the YouTube channel, because I get to talk about it. But it's like, what did Canto Bight actually do to the story besides ruin Finn and his development? And, like, I'm not gonna let the Akbar thing. I'm not gonna let that go at all. Killing Akbar off camera is a travesty to the character. And it just goes to show, like, it just, on the list of stuff that just proves that Rian doesn't understand. In The Last Jedi, Finn went from, I'm just here for Rey, which is what he said at the end of The Force Awakens, becoming an actual rebel. Dude was running around using a lightsaber in The Force Awakens. And then gets sent on a bullshit mission. I'm sorry. Rian made Star Wars small. I don't want to ruin your opinion. I know I'm not going to. But I get very passionate about the sequel trilogy because I think the entire trilogy is a mess. It's a complete mess. And anyone who would kill a character like Akbar doesn't get it. That's straight fact. That's a straight fact. You can't kill a character like Akbar off screen and say, like, oh yeah, I understand Star Wars. Like, you just don't. He has, like, the most iconic line in all of Star Wars. He's probably one of the coolest side characters in Star Wars. You don't kill that character off screen. It'd be like killing Wedge off screen. Just like in a random battle off in the distance. Oh my god, Wedge is dead. Like, wait, what? Like, Wedge is just a side dude. But, like, that wouldn't happen to Wedge. But I could go on and on. I'm gonna go hang out with my kids. Good discussion. I don't think there's a lot of debate about the quality of The Last Jedi or The Rise of Skywalker or The Force Awakens. But liking it doesn't matter. Opinions are great. Love it all you want. Just, I will always press people on reasons why. I will always press you on why. Just like I want you to press me for why. If I say I hate Solo, I think it's the worst movie, I want you to press me why, and I will explain my reasons why. You could disagree with it, you could agree with it, but I haven't heard one valid argument, for my opinion, again, my opinion, I haven't heard one valid argument to explain the story that Rian Johnson told in The Last Jedi actually fits within the world of Star Wars, and that he actually did a good job of visually showing us things that happen. I will never be down with the idea, and it's just like a prequel story. Inserting something major in a prequel and then never having it play out later in the other movies, it doesn't work. Inserting stuff like the Holdo maneuver in the 8th movie of a saga doesn't make sense. You can't just invent things out of nowhere. That's my problem with it. You can't kill one of the more iconic side characters off screen. You can't have a human just magically flying through space all of a sudden without protection. Like, we've never seen that before. You can't just insert that into the world that's been around for 40 years. That's the problem. If The Last Jedi was a standalone movie, it'd probably be different. But it's just the way it goes. See, but I'd like to think the Holdo maneuver was made with with advancement of science. Flying through light speed was nothing new. And then Ryan created this tracking through light speed thing. Like, that could be an advance in science. But flying a ship at light speed through another ship, that's not advancement in science. That's just, I think it's cool, I'm going to invent it. They had some of the most brilliant scientists in the history of the galaxy working on this shit. Not one person's like, hey, let's stick a droid in a ship and fly it through. That doesn't add up. And no one made that comment. That's speculation. That's where I attack the storytelling. If someone in the movie, if there was a line of dialogue that was like, hey, you know what? We've over the years, we've created this technology. We figured out a way that we could use our ships as a weapon. Simple piece, like one line of dialogue would fix that. But that doesn't exist. That's not there. You can't, and that's, again, my problem with storytelling in general. There needs to be something to explain it. And the Force is one of those things that doesn't. The way the Force is described to us outside of the midichlorians, it all works. So I have higher standard of storytelling. I'm kind of a snob with that kind of thing. I need to be told, hey, we've advanced in this area. You know, we got this new strategy. It's just a matter of finding who's going to do it. Oh, Holdo's going to volunteer to do this. We don't want to, waste droids. We don't want to do this. But, hey, we have this ability to fly a ship at light speed through another ship. They know it's possible because in the originals, they talk about, hey, we got to do really specific calculations to fly through light speed, or else we're going to fly through a whatever. So they know that that's dangerous. But you just throw that one line of dialogue. Holdo having a conversation with Leia. Hey, I came up with this thing over the years of studying all this stuff. Hey, I want to volunteer for this. I came up with this idea. Let's try this. Let's see if it works. We're desperate. We have no other options. And Leia be like, damn, I wish we could have come up with that during our Battle of Endor. We're trying to destroy the second Death Star. Or something like that. Like, really simple dialogue. It's not that complicated. But whatever. It is what it is. We'll be debating the sequel trilogy for the end of time. So, appreciate all y'all hanging. Hope y'all have a good day. We'll catch you later. Bye.